ground, don't disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started, it's the hardest. Talk around, don't disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. Yeah,
get your boots ready. We're about to go on a trip where we wrestle, nobody settling or calling it quits. You're here for the grit, betcha this stuff is amazing. You're stumbling? Welcome to the bump in the apron. Step into it, the hardest part of the ring. Here to bring fun, yeah, in this art he's king. It's the best thing, making sure you don't tap out. Don't go soft with the hardest podcast out. And it's not just another one, it's clear. Off the rest, in this content, non-contest. Take the nonsense off the steps. You know it's nothing but pure gems when it's coming off the chest. Get it? Now it's time to sit and relax. Get your mind blown away, ain't no skipping this track. Have you paying more attention, no listening gap. Get everything I ever wanted, no giving it back.
Ooh, what's up everybody? Welcome to the Apron Bump Podcast. I'm your host, the hardest part of the ring, Kyle Bird. How is everybody doing today? Hope everybody's doing well. Hope nobody's getting struck by lightning at the moment. There's more that I can say for the WWF here in May of 1996. We got Beware of Dog, In Your House 8. Beware of Dog. Row, 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 row. So, well, we got Beware of Dog 1, and then we got Beware of Dog 2, Electric Boogaloo. A double special, a double feature on our hands today on the Apron Bump. Just because I loved you guys so much. Lots of people. It's actually a long established myth that there are two Beware of Dogs. A lot of people say it's because lightning struck a transformer and shut the power off in the arena. But in reality, Beware of Dog 1, Beware of Dog 2 is actually a product of ECW's Pitbull number 1 and Pitbull number 2 wanting to have a go at the bookings. So they each had that's not good. All right, let's see. Pitbull joke. Yeah, Beware of Dog 1, Beware of Dog 2. I mean, what did Conan, was Conan there or something? Okay, dog. Who are more? Junkyard Dog? Who's your favorite dog in wrestling? Leave it in the comments. Junkyard Dog. There's a lot of pit bulls. Sergeant Craig Pittman, the pit bull from WCW. I mean, that could be a whole podcast in itself. Dogs and wrestling. Leave a comment if you'd like to hear that. I hope you don't. But yes, Beware of Dog, In Your House 8. It's the show we're covering today. Most well known for the debacle of the power outage. But there's actually some pretty good stuff here, man. We got Mark Marrow making his pay-per-view debut against Triple H. We got one of the best strap matches I've ever seen in my life. Weirdly enough, just in the midst of all this, we got a casket match between Goldust and Undertaker. Apparently, Shawn Michaels is trying to fuck Bulldog's wife. There's a lot of wacky stuff happening here. And I think the podcast speaks for itself, but a lot of wackiness to get into here. And make sure to stay tuned at the end, mix. We're going to grade this bad boy. And we're going to continue the hardest promotion battle of 1996. We're going to see if this show gave us any of the best or the worst in pro wrestling. In-ring, out-of-ring, promos, all of that stuff. We get into it. We get into great detail at the end of the podcast. But on the way there, we got some good stuff coming. Who's we? Well, it's myself and my guest, Fretz, from the Fretzlemania podcast, returning to the show. We have a good old-time barking up a storm about In Your House 8. Go check out the Fretzlemania podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Does a great job over there he covers the Ruthless Aggression era, also some other. We did like a 1990 WCW review on his show. He does some TNA. He does a lot of good stuff. Again, if you like what the Apron Bump puts out, you'll enjoy Fretzy Boy and what him and all of the Wrestle Addicts boys, Kings of the Rings, all that whole crew over there. Great group of guys. I'll put all that info in the description below. Go check them out, the Fretzlemania podcast. And hey, check me out too at Apron Bump on all the social medias. Instagram, Facebook, X, I guess. We'll see if I doubt that'll actually be a thing, but maybe this will age well. Maybe by the time I put this out, it'll be xvideos.com. So got to really clear my browser history for that one. But with that, let's unchain the dog and let it come out of the doghouse. No, let's unleash the hounds. Was that the Shield? Was that their thing? I don't know. WWF in Your House 8 with myself and Fretz from the Fretzlemania podcast. Not too bad. Let me record before I forget on this thing. That wouldn't be good.
All right. Oh, so I have to get all my bad words out now then.
No, let them fly, man. Let them fly. Let all your racial tirades go. We won't include that, right?
Oh, no, those insert people here.
Yeah, those, what is Savio Vega? Puerto Rican, yeah. Don't like those people, right?
Oh, I'm not going to get on the... I'm not going to get on the bad side of East of the Demon Diva. No, she knows how to use a sakla really good, so... Or her stilettos.
A chancla? Is that what it's called?
I think it's a flip-flop.
Zelina Vega tells me it's a chancla, so...
And when I hear that, I think of some candy bar or something, so...
It's probably just as delicious. I'm sure you're right. I love the... is that a Fretzlemania mug?
That is. You can get those on spring.com/I don't know the link. Check my pinned tweet.
That's good promotion. That's good promotion. I don't know the link to my shirt, which I happen to be wearing too. So look at us just shilling ourselves here this morning.
We got a cheap plug right here in insert whatever town you're in.
But I have a Bullet Club shirt too. Like I could put mine on and we could just be the shittiest version of it out of all the 12 of them that are existing.
Oh, you mean best? I mean, this is Bullet Club Gold, so this is...
Oh, that is? Oh, I can't tell it's gold from the...
No, I got this one. I was at Forbidden Door last month, and during the Fatal 4-Way match, I thought, well, I'm going to go have a piss, and then I'm going to go look for a T-shirt, and almost got lost on my way back again. And I've been to the Air Canada Center a bunch of times.
Right. How was that, man? That show seemed hype from watching it from home.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like for one thing, the Blackpool Combat Club came out like right at our exit.
Mm-hmm.
So they were right there, and I didn't know this, but watching the replay back, right above them was Mr. Warren Hayes.
Wow, what are the odds?
Right on camera, just booing. Who's that guy? Take a shitta.
Yeah, take a shitta.
Booing him, and then he high-fived Shota Umino because he was decked out in his like New Japan scarf and shirt. I'm pissed that I didn't see him when I was there. Not impressed at all. Shout out to Warren.
Yeah, man, Shota Umino. I love that you have all the Blackpool Combat guys coming out in all black, and they just showed us like his pink or whatever the hell he was wearing, it's neon colors. It's phenomenal.
He could really stand out in a crowd. And yeah, Omega Osprey is the greatest match I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh man, seeing that live, I can't imagine. It must have been nuts.
The Canada flag part, it didn't really resonate well on pay-per-view, but the section I was in, I was about 13 rows back from the ringside on the floor, and I could see like the stage is right here.
Right.
After he started messing with the Canadian flag, our section started singing "Oh Canada."
Doing the all A1, right?
Yeah. Speaking of A1, did you see or hear of Slammiversary?
Yes, I was going to bring that up. I saw he returned.
As soon as I saw him during the Eric Young bit, I'm like, oh, Kyle's going to flip. So.
Marked out. I didn't even know he was still alive, to be honest. So it was miraculous to see him make a run in and with Eric Young and Scott D'Amore. Just need to throw Bobby Roode in there and we're all set. And Petey Williams, of course. But
Team Canada, my heart is full.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if there's any Canadians on this show, man. Let me look through the. There's no Bret Hart. There's
Owen Hart.
Owen. Well, he's not in a match. He is here, but
He is. But Bulldog lived in Canada for a portion of his life.
Okay, he's Canadian.
What about the dark matches? Because there was literal dark matches here too. But I assume
Savio Vega versus Steve Austin. Am I right or am I wrong, everybody? It was dark. The power went out.
I remember that. It was like I remember that like it was yesterday too. This whole ordeal.
So were you were watching this live when this happened?
I wasn't watching the pay-per-views, but I was basically starting my obsession with pro wrestling around this time. I was casually watching like 93. Yep. Well, 93, 94. I used to watch it at lunchtime with my late father. Mm-hmm. We would get home from our family had a butcher shop, so I would go hang out with him on weekends. I'd go help feed the pigs. He would get, whatever, kill a couple of animals, cut up some steaks, and come home and watch WWF Superstars.
So you're a big Godwin's fans, I'm assuming.
I think my dad would have liked the Godwins. Like,
I mean, if not him, I mean, who are they catering to? If not your father, who does stuff with pigs, not weird stuff.
Well, the rest of my family, because we're all like all of us are like farmers and butchers.
Right. Okay. We'll see. You got somebody to represent you, even though there's no Canadians on this show. It's always good to hear, but we do. Yeah, to your point, we do got dark matches on the show, which we can run through. But just before we get into anything, overall, beware. Here's a question for you: what do you prefer, Beware of Dog 1 or Beware of Dog 2? Some people don't like sequels, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, 1 was short, and I thought, well, this is going to be the shortest podcast of all time. It'd be like basically a episode of mine that barely run 40 minutes sometimes. So I'm
nothing wrong with that.
I'm good with that. But number 2 had, oh bloody hell, I already forget who they had on commentary. But
JR and Mr. Perfect.
That's it. Like I liked that commentary team.
I did too.
But I mean, King's one-liners in number 1 might put it up there.
Oh, you're a fan. You're a fan of his one-liners. One-liners.
One of them was pretty funny.
What was that? Tell me, Fretz. What was the funny? What was the funny one? What made you laugh?
The Grills in the Mist was filmed in Sable's shower. I mean,
okay, so that one went over my head. So maybe that was funny. But is that like an old movie?
That's a movie. I think it might have been around this time. And another movie that was around this time, I think, is a little bit ironic, is Twister. So we had a storm that took this out. So I imagine there was like a cow flying, and Shania Twain is doing a bit, and Eddie and Alex Van Halen doing one of the best movie scores of all time. What was it Respect the Storm? Look it up. Phenomenal.
How's that go? Why don't you hum it for us?
It's instrumental. I can't
hum it.
Da, 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 and then goes on from there. It's just look it up. I can't. Powerful. I don't give it justice. I barely finished my coffee too, so I'm not functioning.
How does Fretz like his coffee? The people want to know.
Black.
Oh, same here, man. Like it like I like my women, steaming hot and all over my penis. So we got.
Haven't gotten there yet, but knowing my clumsy ass, it'll happen at some point.
Hey, it's still young, man. The day's still young. But yeah, Twister's out. That's cool. Maybe it's just promotion here, huh? Right?
Oh, probably.
Yeah, that's something. Or it's WCW, trying to sabotage the show, what have you. But anybody listening, if you're unaware, of course, Beware of Dog is the 8th in your house from the WWF promotion. And a couple matches in, a storm hits, knocks out the power. And the show is dark for I don't know how long. Obviously on Peacock, they cut out all the, in-between stuff. But I would assume an hour at least. Do you happen to know how long the power was out?
Well, the power went out right after the first match.
Right.
Not the free-for-all match. That was... we can tell a story about that one when it gets there. I think it had to do with the Godwins, speaking of them. It was at least an hour, maybe an hour and a quarter. because we went from this to the main event. Then there was the 3 other matches that were taped on Tuesday. It was for a little while. I was just listening to the New Generation Project podcast review of this out on my walk this morning. And I think that's what they alluded to. Okay.
Yeah, because to your point, they had one match and then the power went out and then it was the main event. So it must have been a while. Just a very bizarre like order of things. I wasn't sure because I've always heard about this, but I've never watched it unfold. So I guess we could just kind of go in order here, just for history's sake. But not a bad show overall, technical difficulties excluded. But definitely a very interesting show. But you brought up the dark matches. Just want to give a shout out to because all these in your houses, they always have like a dark match card that could be just like its own card. So we got 4 of them on this show. We got Bob Holly versus Isaac Yankem. We got Ahmed Johnson versus Jerry the King Lawler. We got the Ultimate Warrior versus Owen Hart. And I couldn't even imagine.
The ring qualifier, I think that was.
Oh. No, I think that was the night after, which we'll get into. Right. And then Jake Roberts versus Justin Hawk Bradshaw, which I was looking on Cage Match, and it seemed like this was going to be a part of the actual show, which I'm kind of glad it wasn't, but I also wanted to see the train wreck that it most assuredly was. But
it actually kind of was part of the show. I think it was just as the lights were coming back on. I think Jake hit the DDT, and then just after that, they got the feedback on with that promo. But we also had there was a free for all match here too as well.
Let's hear about it, man. We got the free for all. We got the tag team titles on the line because why put that on the main show? We got the champions, the Godwins, of course, comprised of Hog and Pig, Henry O. Godwin and Phineas I. Godwin. We got the Godwins defending against the Ass Men, the Smoking Guns, Billy Gunn, Bart Gunn. So this is on the pre-show. I couldn't really find a version of this / didn't really care enough to look too deep into it. But the Smoking Guns end up winning, and I know Sonny ends up joining the Guns. Do you happen to know how that unfolds?
I know exactly how this unfolds and a little bit more.
Tell me.
After. So Sonny, Phineas had a infatuation with Sonny. I mean, who didn't in 1996? I mean, I sure did. I sure did. Certain things were changing with myself, so that Sonny really helped get things going.
So that old Canadian puberty, it's strong. I know.
Oh boy. So Sonny lifts up her skirt to show her, probably a thong or underpants with half of a butt cheek hanging out.
Maybe a little butthole action, little chocolate flavored starfish.
Now we didn't quite get to the whatever that Sonny porno is called. We didn't quite get there, but no, she flashes her butt. Phineas is just agape and eats a bridging back suplex, and there's the Smoking Guns winning. After this match, Sonny got slopped, but the rumor and innuendo here is, I think this was according to like Bruce Pritchard's podcast or something. Henry O puts the bucket down in the locker room and says, "Guys, Sonny's going to get slopped tonight. Now I'm just going to turn around and I'm just going to leave this bucket here. Wink, wink." Toxic backstage. Every orifice, everything out of every orifice was in that bucket.
Oh, I think I have heard about that. I wasn't sure this was the show, but that is. So do people just not like Sonny, or are people just dicks?
They column A, column B. Like Sonny rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, especially when. And if you've seen the Dark Side of the Ring with Chris and Tammy, that more than a few people in that locker room were having some sunny days. So, and right in front of Candido, like he was either oblivious to it or he was okay with it, and he loved her so blindly that, or he wasn't confrontational, or I don't want to say cuck. I mean, I don't want to speak ill of the man.
I mean, nothing wrong with a little cuckage.
Hey, to each their own. Maybe they liked that, but yeah, they just did everything in the bucket. Sonny got, and it looked pretty vile on TV, but it didn't look like there was like crap and jizz and pee and all that in it.
Man, well, that just brings slop to a whole new. I was gonna make a cum joke when you said she got slopped, but I guess that's literally what it was. So the joke kind of writes itself, I suppose. That's very I don't know if it's unfortunate or if it's deserved, but it's a thing that happened, I guess we could say. For no shadow of a doubt.
It's not a rib, it's a receipt. There it is.
That's, those receipts in wrestling, you're just getting shit and piss all over you. It's just break it in, man. It's paying your dues. Everybody goes through it. Who doesn't get peed on at their job, right? It's not just me. Speaking of cucks, we got I don't know if it's cucking, but Brock Lesnar's fucking his wife now. We got Mark Marrow versus Triple H kicking off part 1 of Beware of Dog. Mark Marrow, of course, accompanied by Sable. So this kind of got kicked off at WrestleMania this past year when Triple H came out with Sable on his arm. Now, this is the period where old Hunter Hearst Helmsley is coming out with a different lady every night. Because he's rich, I guess. And it just happened to be Sable on WrestleMania. And WrestleMania also was the debut of Mark Marrow, but Marrow and Sable weren't debuted at the same time. They were separate of each other, but then the Raws afterwards, they came together. They're together, and then Triple H says, I don't even want Sable. She's ugly. And then Marrow's like, I'm wild. So, I don't know. But that's basically the build here. Mark Marrow, the Wild Man. I haven't seen much of the Wild Man, to be honest, but I don't know. What did you make of this gimmick? To me, it seemed very half-assed, even though I do like he's fairly stripped down Mark Marrow, at least compared to Johnny B. Bad, which I like. I like his aesthetic. I like his vibe, but he has the goofy promo before the match. Welcome to the jungle. It's kind of unnecessary, but I guess that's the time. But yeah, what'd you make of Wild Man Mark Marrow here?
I was a fan of him when I was a kid, but allegedly Vince McMahon wanted Little Richard. Vince McMahon wanted Johnny B. Bad, and you couldn't call him Johnny B. Bad because that was trademarked by Turner, and so he had to find something around that. And then when he laid his eyes on Sable, it's like, oh, I gotta have that on my screen. Just he was more infatuated with Sable, and Mark Marrow, I think, was more of an afterthought. And despite the fact that he would hold gold in the Federation for a little bit, he was still kind of treated as that, and Sable was always at the forefront. But yeah, I like that. I liked Guns N' Roses, so the Welcome to the Jungle bit was it resonated with me. It was very apt. I don't know why Bob Backlund got involved with him on Superstars before this. I mean, was he campaigning and then?
Bob Backlund's kind of like herpes in this era. He's always there somewhere, and it's never good. It's weird to say, but he was the world champion a year and a half before this. But afterwards, he's just he's campaigning to be president, I guess is the thing. But there's never any payoff or results. He's just kind of around. I don't know if they just want the name value of Bob Backlund hanging around, but I don't know. I never really saw value in him. But yeah, he did take part in this. I guess attacked Mark Marrow on Superstars, right? At least that's what they showed before the match.
Put him in the chicken wing for reasons I don't get it.
Fuck him. But yeah, that's basically what it is. And then Triple H also attacked him on Superstars, I believe, hit him with the pedigree. So that's why we have this match. And you kind of look at this on paper, Mark Marrow versus Triple H. Well, there's a few things. So first of all, you look at these two names, and obviously one would go on to have much more success than the other, to say the least. But without hindsight, watching this live, if you could put yourself back in 1996, who would you predict would go on to have the better career, Mark Marrow or Hunter Hearst Helmsley?
Honestly, I still would have picked Triple H.
Yeah, why is that?
I never really liked Triple H, even when he was in DX, but I thought he had something. He had something special, and then he'd go on and just. It took him a while. It took him about another 3 years after this before he reached the heights that he would reach.
Mhm.
And Mero, I just thought, he's a good wrestler. Behind the mic, maybe he leaves a little bit to be desired. I preferred him as Marvelous Mark Mero as the boxer.
See, that's how
This,
I was introduced to him. So yeah, I would agree.
yeah, I became a fan of him when he started doing that. Like the first time he breaks out in the Marvelous Mark Mero comes out to that awesome generic rock theme you hear in a lot of commercials. He just
Yeah.
up and low blows a guy, just punches him right in the balls. Like, okay, I like this. And he loses by DQ in his first match back, just doing the old Shinsuke Nakamura special.
Of course. Yeah, I could see you thinking, yeah, Triple H definitely has something here. You can see it. I would like in this time period, I would kind of compare him to DDP, which is a weird comparison, but he's like a solid heel that clearly gives a shit in an era where that's like few and far between for whatever reason. Like Triple H, I mean, the match here is like whatever. Like it's solid. It's nothing that I would like recommend you go out of your way and watch. But Triple H, I mean, he's a good heel here. He's solid on the mic, even though he hasn't talked a ton at this point. But the way he bumps and the way he just sells and the heat that he gets, like it's you could definitely tell there's something there. But also to the same point, Mark Mero, obviously the more flashier of the two. Just a really fun style, especially for the time. I mean, he's throwing out Frankensteiners and planches to the outside, which seems very mundane in today's world. But in 1996, this isn't something you were seeing every match. So he definitely sticks out. His in-ring style, Mark Mero does at this point. So, but I guess in the context of WWF, that's not really what what the big stars do. So I guess, yeah, to your point, Triple H definitely probably had the bigger upside at this point, but the match itself, first, before we get into the match itself, Jerry Lawler just pissed me off to no end during this match. Really the whole show, I guess the 2 matches he covered. He's pretending that Sable is ugly throughout this whole thing because he's a heel and Sable's a babyface. It's just like, I get it. You gotta dig on the baby faces. You're the heel, but at some point, look at Sable. Like, he's calling her a horse face. He's said that what was the reference about the movie, The Shower?
I got 2. I had another one here.
Please.
It was the Gorillas in the Mist was filmed in Sable's shower. That got a kick out of me. And this next one I almost fell off my chair, really. But it was kind of funny if you know the reference. Sable is so ugly that not even Ted Danson would date her. Ted Danson is Sam Elliott from the bartender from Cheers, known for some having significant others that didn't look the part. Like, yeah, I hate that shallowness, but that's what it is.
I was about to say Diane was a hot dame, so I was like, what was the hell is Lawler talking about? But I guess it's real life significant others.
Yeah. King was distracted by that valet who has had like the most 90s hair that ever 90'd. Just sitting beside her, just egging her on, and she's completely deadpan, or she's just like that meme with the drunk guy screaming at the chick at the club. That's what that reminded me of. Just King and going on and on. And like, he's his one-liners were good, but
yeah,
the rest,
the lady that Triple H brought out during this match, I forget her name. She had some 90s name. But Lawler's pretending that this lady is prettier than Sable. Look, I don't want to be mean here, but look, you said it. She had the 90s haircut, the bob. She looked like Coconut Head from Ned Steed's Classified. She looked like she had no idea what was going on. I mean, she looked like deadpan, but she looked like a Chuck E. Cheese, like animatronic, like character. Like she's just like an NPC, just like rotating, not reacting to anything. As Lawler's like, look how pretty. This is a classy broad here, and she's just like, no idea where she is. It seemed like, and I'm not gonna say that she's ugly, but put her against Sable, there's no comparison. So, unless you disagree.
I'm with you.
I think that's pretty unanimous.
I mean, Sable Unleashed on VHS. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's some wrestling here. outside of that somehow. Again, pretty solid match. I mean, at the beginning, Triple H, he attacks the arm of Mark Marrow. Nothing particularly exciting here. Some arm bars, throw them against the post, arm first. Triple H throwing out the old Ric Flair knee onto Mark Marrow's arm. So it is what it is. You're doing the old abdominal stretch, rope leverage spot where the ref's like, hey, are you holding that rope? Hey, Buster, you better stop that. Then it goes back around. So we get some of the classic heel stuff from Triple H here, which is fun. But then Marrow fights back. Frankensteiner, head scissors, does this flying sunset flip, which also always like one of the stupidest moves I've ever seen. It's a sunset flip, but he jumps from the top rope, which is like, okay, you're just putting more impact on yourself while doing the same sunset flip that you would do otherwise. Whatever. Looked cool, I guess, which is all that matters. Marrow with a flying plancha to the outside, but it misses. And he hurts his knee in the process. Triple H throws him into the ring. Goes to hit the pedigree. But he really wants Sable to watch. Going back to the old cuckold thread that we got going here, I guess. We got Sable. He wants Sable to watch. Sable turns her. She doesn't want to watch. So Triple H lets go of the pedigree. Goes to the outside. Grabs her by the arm and says, hey, you better watch. He's kind of abandoned his old accent at this point. Gets back in the ring. Goes to hit the pedigree again. But Marrow reverses into a catapult, shooting Triple H into the face first into the top of the ring post, which looked pretty sweet. And that gets us the win. So I guess that knocks him out. So Mark Marrow gets the win. Weird finish, but I'm not too mad about it. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think about the match?
The match was pretty good. I mean, Mark Marrow pulled out the rolling prawn hold, which was surprising. A lot of good psychology for Triple H with working the arm. Jerry the King Lawler just being an absolute twat. And I saw a couple of smarky Smark fans in the front row, like throwing up the too sweet to towards Triple H. So there was a lot of like Wrestling Observer readers at this point in time. I wouldn't get into smarky smarkness until at least the mid-aughts, like well after this.
Yeah. Is this after the curtain call?
This is 1 month before the curtain call.
Wait
a minute. What? Hang on. Wait, no, that was in May. It might have been either just before or just after.
Because Scott Hall, fun fact, debuts on Nitro the night after this.
Okay, so it was like a couple of weeks ago.
It must have been after, with that logic, yeah.
And Triple H was just about being starting to get his punishment. Like rumor and innuendo is that he was going to win the King of the Ring, but we would wait a year for that. I'm glad we did because we would see the meteoric whatever that word. Yeah, thank you. Rise of Steve Austin.
Yeah, I think everything ended up just fine, I would say. But yeah. To your point, just another loss for old Hunter Hearst Helmsley. But I he didn't come off like a jabroni here. It's not like he got squashed in 20 seconds, like at WrestleMania or something. Like that would be stupid.
He wasn't even in trouble back then.
Yeah, so really, I guess it wasn't as dramatic, at least so far, as people make it out to seem. But Mark Marrow gets the win here, and we're on with him. But after that, we got a backstage promo here from Camp Cornette. So Cornette's surrounded by Owen Hart, Bulldog, Clarence Mason, maybe some other guys. But so the main event, allegedly, is supposed to be Shawn Michaels defending the WWF title against the British Bulldog. And we'll get into that feud and all that stuff, I guess, next here. But Cornette says he has a bombshell that he's going to drop tonight, but he's not going to say it because he doesn't want Shawn Michaels to have time to prepare. And by the way, during this promo, you hear Stone Cold's music in the background because we're setting up for the second match of the night, which is supposed to be Stone Cold versus Savio Vega in a Caribbean strap match. However, it's at this point, well, I guess not at this point, but on Peacock, the power goes out and they shift to when the power came back on. And then all of a sudden, Bulldog's coming out. So it's like, okay, so they must have been, power must have been out for a substantial amount of time if they're just closing it out here. But But yeah, you said you heard all about it. We kind of talked about the power going out. I mean, did you have anything else on that? I think we kind of covered it in the beginning, right?
Yeah, well, this lightning hit transmitter or something that led to power into the arena. There was little bits where on pay-per-view you just got nothing but the blank screen, and then JR and the King pop up in a little bit, saying, "Hey, hang tight, just stand by. We're working on." Then that's when they had Yoko Vader strap match and JBL Jake Roberts in the dark.
Okay, yeah. So I was gonna ask. So they did actually have the matches. They were just in the dark.
Yeah, they were like reproduced them or re-released them. They just did. Hey, look! Last night, what happened? There was a storm. Oh, you can either get a refund or you can order a Beware of Dog 2 Electric Boogaloo right now.
That's so they basically just redid because they would like you said they would eventually do the encore the following Tuesday, and they would do the matches that were scheduled here in the light. But so they did it in the dark, I guess. That's hilarious. So I thought, I guess, because Vince McMahon on commentary is kind of walking through this, and I guess it was kind of all up in the air. He kind of alluded that on the encore, this match would also be happening again, but I don't think it did because they set up a rematch for King of the Ring. Spoiler, but yeah. So it was just a very bizarre kind of setup for it, and everybody's all like flabbergasted and shook up because oh my god, nobody knows what's happening. No, they probably didn't even know this match was going to happen until a couple minutes before. So, and Vince McMahon's on commentary, so it's probably limited amount that he could take part in. So everybody's you could tell everybody's kind of like, oh, what the hell's going on here? But to your point, we got the WWF title on the line here. We got the champion Shawn Michaels defending against the British Bulldog. Shawn, of course, accompanied by his trainer Jose Lothario. We got the British Bulldog out there with Diana Smith, Jim Cornette, and Owen Hart. So this build-up to this match is something that I was not very familiar with this. I'm gonna be honest, and I like seeing how it played out and kind of see why it wasn't very. I don't know, it's very dramatic, very novel. I guess for the time, you didn't really see this like soap opera kind of stuff. I feel like in this era. But it was something. They were trying stuff. Do you remember this build-up as it was happening?
Oh, I do. You know, the H in HBK stands for home wrecker.
Okay. I like that.
You got Diana's zombie Linda McMahon acting from the lead up to WrestleMania X7. And we're pulling off a Bill Clinton joke before it happened. I don't know when Monica Lewinsky got involved here, but basically Michael's doing that. I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yep.
I know you want me. And then in HBK's mind is like, ha, Sonny. This is character assassination. This was soap opera stuff. And this was a little not so PG for the PG era because they were basically accusing a man of rape.
Well, I don't think it was
not rape, but it was
he was.
It could have proposition.
Well, he was served an official summons, which I'll get to in a second. But yeah, just to kind of wrap that all up. So Diana Smith is basically accusing Shawn of trying to sleep with her. So I don't think it was like a forced upon thing. I think it was Shawn was just like flirting with her or whatever. They kept it very vague. And then Bulldog, obviously none too pleased with this. Cornette's crazy. What the hell? He's swinging his racket. So it's a whole big thing, and it's just like they're putting forward that Shawn is what's the word? A man
predator?
No, when you oh my god, what's the word when you just womanizer? Womanizer is the word they would use.
Yeah.
Which is bizarre for your baby face. I don't know. Maybe that's what people liked at the time. I don't know. But just a really dumb kind of thing. There's no like substance to it. There's no like video of Shawn coming on to Diana. It's just, I guess maybe the story is that the Bulldog just wants a world title shot, and this is how his method of getting it is kind of how I read into this. But it's funny that you compare Diana to Linda McMahon because I literally did the exact same thing, and they had the same emotion, the same just another animatronic. Just I'm here, robots. Diana's all over the place, whether it's SummerSlam 92, any match that the Bulldogs did in this era, she's always in the crowd or ringside. I've had enough of Diana Hart personally, but this is just basically all I'll say. This build up left a lot to be desired, but it's a unique thing. You know, they're trying new stuff, so I give them credit for that. But before the match, so Clarence Mason is out there, who is the lawyer of Jim Cornette, I guess. And in turn, everybody in Camp Cornette. So Clarence Mason has a neck brace on, do you remember why he has a neck brace? I couldn't really recall if he got attacked or whatever.
I think it was more of a sympathy thing. And he was probably trying to be the guy that was in the O.J. Simpson trial.
Johnny Cochran.
They were really parodying Johnny Cochran, but he didn't have the Chewbacca defense in this version, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah, that really would have been a slam dunk if he had done that. But so I alluded to the bombshell that Jim Cornette was going to drop, quote unquote. Apparently, it's that right before the match starts, everybody's in the ring about to get underway. Shawn Michaels he's served a summons for attempted alienation of affection, which sounds made up, but I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but maybe it's. Shawn didn't seem to care. Diana didn't even seem to care. Bulldog doesn't care. Nobody really cares except Clarence Mason, maybe, and Jim Cornette. So just with the power going out, everybody's kind of frazzled. The stupid storyline, it just all kind of sums up to just stupidity here. But the match happens. Pearl Harbor job from Bulldog as Shawn, he tears up the summons. He's, whatever. Pearl Harbors. The match gets underway, and then Bulldog proceeds to put on rest holds on Shawn Michaels for what seems like 87 minutes. Honestly, like the match kind of kicked in towards the end, but Bulldog in this era, unless he's facing Bret Hart, is not really going to be anything worthwhile. But I mean, not the worst I've seen from Bulldog, but I think I credit that to Shawn Michaels. But I don't know. What'd you think of this match?
I mean, it was fine. It was serviceable. Jerry Lawler pulling out another line here. Bulldog's going to knock out so many of Shawn's teeth, his mouth will look like it's in jail. And then he says something like, "A woman throws herself at us." I forget. Oh man, I can't even read my own fucking writing. Just talking about how women throw themselves at people, and he's like, "Hey, people like me and Shawn, yeah, we're the same because women throw themselves at us." And
right.
And Vince McMahon's insipid commentary here, just 1, 2, and I got on one. No, he didn't. Maneuver. Oh, there's an insecurity, the same move that put Shawn out of action, thanks to Mr. Owen Hart, who got himself his South Carolina. I don't know what Carolina it is, so if anyone's listening from
it's South Carolina, this show.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. It's like a South Carolina bona fide manager's license. I want to know where I can get those for Ontario, Canada, for reasons I will not get into today. Bulldog had a really nice electric chair. Mm-hmm. Lawler here was referencing Marty Jannetty, and saying that when they were with the Rockers, Shawn always went for the married women, and Marty would just go for members of his family.
Well, you're not wrong there, Fretz. You're not wrong there. But I actually noted that too, because Lawler brings it up. He says Marty says it about Shawn, and then Vince McMahon's like, we're not going to give any validity to Marty Jannetty. It's like, what the fuck did Marty do? I mean, we know what he did now, but Vince just buries the shit out of Marty Jannetty here, which I think is hilarious. But yeah, there's some good stuff here towards the end. Shawn comes back. He does his forearm, the axe handle, the elbow, all the classic HBK stuff. We got a ref bump, of course, because it's the world title match in the mid-90s. Owen Hart's in. Gets immediately kicked with the sweet chin music from Shawn. But this allows Bulldog to take advantage and goes for the power slam. But Shawn reverses it, shoves Bulldog into the corner, and then hits Bulldog with a German suplex with a bridge for the win, which is bizarre. I was like, wow, random finish. But then Bulldog's music hits. So I guess both of their shoulders were on the mat. And by the way, I knew some shit was up when the ref went down, and they kept panning back to the old ref, and then there's a new ref in. So there's going to be some shenanigans here. So they do the whole thing where it's a Bulldog's music plays, the ref hands him the belt, but then the old ref comes in, takes the belt from him, gives it to Sean. Sean's music plays. Then Diana grabs the belt. She walks off with it. Then Gorilla Monsoon, who's the president, comes out, takes the belt from Diana, gets in the ring. They have a bit of a meeting in the ring with the refs and whatnot. Gorilla says that this match is a draw. And then I guess ultimately there's going to be a rematch of King of the Ring. They didn't announce that here. But without knowing that there's going to be a rematch, I think it's hilarious that this show, part one, you have one match, the power goes out, you come back, you have the main event, it's a schmozzy draw finish. So really, Florence, South Carolina, I think this was. Yeah, fuck you guys, I guess. But I don't know. What would you make of this whole debacle here at the end?
It was just literally to set up the rematch, and I think at King of the Ring, it's going to be like a no DQ, something kind of match where this stipulation would be prevented. And as soon as I saw that German suplex, I'm like, Bulldog's shoulders were clearly on the mat, like a good German suplex. I'm daring to say his name because his son appeared on Rampage or whatever the other AEW show is the other night. Chris Benoit, he gets a German suplex. His shoulders are not on the mat. Michaels couldn't really get the bridge up. I mean, it takes a lot of neck and upper shoulder strength. And he can land a good one, but then this was just, let's set up the next one. Their match at the King of the Ring, I remember being a little bit better than this.
Okay.
But I haven't seen it in some time. I had both of these on VHS. So like I did watch both of these shows.
Interesting.
Quite a few times.
Well, I'll look forward to that, I suppose. But yeah, just in the grand scheme of things, it's just in the middle of this whole part one, part two thing, which is funny. But so that closes out part one. And then there's a Raw the next night, and then Tuesday in I forget where they are, another South Carolina place, maybe Charleston, I don't remember. Part two, Beware of Dog, gets underway, and we're kicking it off with a Caribbean strap match: Savio Vega versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. So we are still in he's not the ringmaster at this point, but he is still with Ted DiBiase. He still has the $1 Million Championship. Like we said, King of the Ring is the next pay-per-view, so we all know what happens there. But this is right before that gets underway. So we got this match here. JR and Mr. Perfect are on commentary, which is a welcome change. They kind of recap what happened on Sunday night. They show some clips of them fighting in the dark, which is just hilarious, just whipping each other with straps in the dark. And the gimmick or the stipulation going into this is if Savio Vega loses, he's going to become the chauffeur for Ted DiBiase. But if Steve Austin loses, well, Ted DiBiase is going to leave the WWF. So that's the stakes here. These guys had a match at WrestleMania. It seems like they've been fighting for forever. So that's kind of how we've gotten to this point. And by the way, the rules, because it seems like every strap match has a different set of rules. You win this match by touching each corner in succession to win. So all four corners. So that's kind of where we're at here. The match itself, I'll go as far to say this might be the best strap match I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's better than the Brahma Bull Rope match, that's for sure.
I'm about to say it's not like a high bar unless you like start bringing in like the dog collar matches, but there's a lot of good dog collar matches. But just a regular strap, Caribbean strap, Texas strap, whatever the hell. I can't think of a better strap match than this. I was pretty entertained by it. What about you?
I really like this match. Ted saying that he'll vow to leave if he loses. So, or Savio would become the new Virgil. Either way, I would have been in it. And Mr. Perfect was saying that this is a match that Savio Vega's never lost, and I added in or never been in. It's like he has this record in Caribbean strap matches, maybe in WWC and
yeah, I think it was like in Puerto Rico or whatever. I think he's been in. I mean, I haven't researched it, but I would assume maybe it's just a thing they made up. I don't know.
Yeah, well, he was TNT in Puerto Rico, and he was more of a deathmatch guy, so. He could have had like a strap or an exploding strap match in there. Like
exploding strap match. Is that a thing? If not, it should be.
You remember those It's like those it's like that strip of red paper, and if you like pop it with something, it's a little firecracker. I'm aging myself here. I can't remember what they were called.
I think they did that at AW Revolution 2020, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I didn't even know those things still existed because caps. They were called caps or something. People my age might remember what those things are, but I can't do
The sounds
them
Canadian.
justice.
Right off the top, the sounds Canadian. So I'm not
No,
familiar.
it's very Texas. It's a very Texas cowboy thing. That's all I can remember. Anyone who can vaguely understand what my jumbled mess is, just let me.
You sure it's not Calgary cowboy?
No.
Yeah, you're right.
Caps. It's just called caps. Like I think Ralph Wiggum ate them on The Simpsons. It's like I ate my caps or something like that.
Yeah, call it if you're a big Caps fan.
Not the Capitals. Fuck them.
That's a whole other podcast itself. Yeah, I like this match. I think there was a good use of the strap. I mean, there's only so many things you can do, but look, if Savio Vega, I don't know how many strap matches he's been in, but he seemed like he knew what he was doing here. I mean, you're doing all the classic spots. He pulls Steve Austin into the ring post when they're like on opposite sides. Both guys like are choking each other with the strap, obviously slapping each other, hitting each other in the back and chest with the strap. You got hog tying, a good amount of hog tying in this match, which I'm a big fan of. Using the strap as defense. Like I don't know, there was good drama here. The way they built up to touching the four corners, the way they like cut them off by like Savio got three corners, was going for the fourth one, and then Steve Austin just like rips him, like whiplashes him, and just sends Savio flying. There's another spot where that happens again, but this time Steve Austin counters with a spine buster. Like Savio's going to the fourth, and then he just like tackles him and just like Goldberg spine busters him in the mat. So there was some good intensity in this match, I thought. So yeah, I don't know, any spots in particular in this one stick out to you? There's a lot going on here.
I think you got them. You know, there was a really good superplex after a 3-corner bit.
Yeah.
Austin's double leg, the Austin going for a tombstone, and then Savio goes for it himself, and then they both tumble over the top rope.
Right.
And Savio Vega jerking Austin off the top rope was a good one.
What?
Austin hitting
off the top rope. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're not quite there. Austin with a pile driver, the $1 Million Dream. But then while he's locked in the $1 Million Dream, Savio Vega is still touching the turnbuckle, so he's not quite fading all the way there. And the last bit where I think they may have both had a 3-3 tie, and then you had the drama of that last one that Savio finally hits, like leaping over Austin. It was very good. He leads the crowd into a somewhat dodgy rendition of "Na na na na, hey goodbye." It's not as bad as JR's, but it's but it was pretty good. This is the best match on both shows. I'm gonna say now.
Easily match of the 3 days. But yeah, to your point, there's also a spot, by the way, because you always in these like strap matches, you always have the part where like the heel tries to run away, but he forgets he's tied up, so the babyface pulls him back in. You have that in this match. But you also have a point where like Austin throws Savio over the top rope to try to get him out of the way, and then Austin like follows him. He like ends up falling over the top rope himself, which is like these little things. I thought they made this strap match really work. Although to be fair, I guess they had 2 opportunities to do that. They had good practice 2 nights before, but good stuff here. And yeah, like you said, they do the old Eddie Guerrero JBL finish here, which is the first show I ever attended. And they had the old Texas Bull Rope match. This is the one where Eddie Guerrero lost the title. And they had a similar finish where like Eddie was touching the corners, and then JBL would be behind him also touching the corners, and then he would get the fourth one. Do a similar thing here, and Savio ends up winning. Like you said, so Savio tells the music guy to play "Na Na 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 Hey Hey" or whatever the song's called, and then Savio tries to sing over it, but he's not in sync, and the crowd's confused. But whatever, Ted's out, off to join the NWO or whatever. So Savio wins, and Steve Austin will get his seat back, to say the least, at the next pay-per-view. But yeah, all around good. Savio Vega's kind of exceeded my expectations from like what I've seen so far. Like he's had a couple really good matches with Goldust, and some of the stuff he did with like 1-2-3 Kid. Like Savio Vega, I think is kind of an unsung gem in this era.
He's underrated, and even when he performed under a mask as Quang, I mean, the best match he got out of him The best match you got out of him was with Adam Bomb, and no offense to Brian Clark and Savio Vega, that's not saying a lot, but he's very underrated, like especially in this era.
For sure. Glad he got his flowers though at Backlash this past year. Great to see.
Oh, I forgot about that. That was cool.
That was awesome.
Speaking of cool, that other part was cool too.
Yes. But then quickly go backstage. Good question. Did you ever talk to Shawn Michaels on AOL?
No, I was an MSN Messenger guy. Like, being up here in Canada, the MSN Messenger is where every shy, awkward kid would try and shoot their shot against their crush and then get immediately blocked or left on scene. Don't ask me why I know that.
So it's the same as AOL then.
I did the WWE chat rooms back in the day, or like the Google ones. But those laptops that Shawn Michaels is trying to maneuver, they're like clunkier than a original model Xbox.
It looks like my work laptop. It's Shawn Michaels trying to maneuver this laptop is hilarious because that is literally what he's doing, because the camera's on him for like a minute, like over his shoulder as he's like talking to somebody, and he's just looking at this keyboard like it's an alien with 5 heads. He doesn't know what the hell's going on. It's the camera's on him for a minute. He doesn't hit one key. He's just kind of just looking. He's just bewildered by the whole thing. So it's just, and WCW does a similar thing. It's always hilarious seeing these guys have no idea what to do with a laptop, but must have taken forever if you were trying to have a conversation with them. That's my point.
You would type 2 words and then they wouldn't appear on the screen for a minute. Then you'd get a delay. It was like when we tried to record a couple of weeks ago with our internets being dodgy.
Yeah, it is. That was our own Beware of Dog.
Exactly. It's never been released.
It's the lost tapes.
It's the lost tapes. I have to dig pretty deep if I want to find it.
I'll find it for you. I'll dig deep inside you to find it. So we got Vader versus Yokozuna next. Which just saying boy. That gives me feelings inside. I will say this though, like you see this on paper. It's like you got Yokozuna, who's at least 650 at this point. It's got to be. You got Vader. It's WWF Vader. Is far ahead of his prime, or behind his prime. He's past his prime. So you got these two guys going one-on-one against each other. On paper, there's like this is going to be awful. So I had low expectations going into this. I will say this definitely exceeded my expectations. Was it a good match? I don't know about that, but I thought there were some pretty fun moments here. They kind of knew what they were working with, and they kind of made the most of it. I think it was as good as it could have been. I don't know. What do you think about it?
I mean, it was fine. I mean, I remember that Yokozuna getting his leg broken and by the Vader bomb and getting forklifted out the arena. Right. I remember that like it was yesterday. That's one of the first Monday Night Raws I ever watched live. He was just about 650 here. This was a stalling brawl. JR is plugging the superstar line, and he actually left in the number. I called it back in the day and got my ass kicked for it by my parents for jacking up the phone bill. And it was like, I would try and call it now, and you'd probably either get nothing, this phone isn't in service, or you get one of those late night sex lines that you see on like Fox Rochester.
Are those still a thing? Can you do a phone call sex line nowadays?
I don't know. I could have swore I've seen like those. It's just, it's late night and I just like to party, and it's somewhat provocative, but it's not full on like sexy. I don't know. I mean,
don't pretend like you don't know. You seem to have a lot of specific knowledge on these phone lines. Don't pretend like you don't know. You're like you just heard this through the Vine.
Dude, I used to be a night hawk. I used to work nights, so I would see these commercials, and for some reason they would stick with me. I never tried them. Honestly, I never did. But if things like the internet and ChatterBait exist, then there's no really point for these things.
Exactly. At least even OnlyFans, I think you can message people. I don't know. I don't do that.
Yeah, you have to pay. You have to pay for that though. So
right. Yeah, I'm not going to pay $16.99 to look at your cooter.
I can do it for free.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of cooters, we got a couple cooters here. So Yoko and Vader. They start out with like Yoko's in his sumo stance, Vader gets in his football stance. They tease it. They're like about to be like two bulls like crashing into each other, but Vader bitches out. They do this twice where Vader's like, no, I'm not ready. And then they do it the third time, and they finally run at each other. And of course, Yoko, who's like twice as big as Vader at this point, just pancakes the hell out of him. And like that kind of like plays into my thought here, which I've brought up before, but I want to know your thoughts. Do you think pairing Vader and Yoko right off the bat, off of Vader's debut, do you think that like killed the mystique of Vader because of how much bigger Yoko is than him?
I don't think so. It just gave Vader odds that he's never faced before. Like he's never faced anyone as big as Yoko.
Right.
So if anything, I think it helped kind of elevate things a little bit. And there, JR here, he's talking about Vader body slamming Yokozuna. And it's like, the only man to do that is Ahmed Johnson. You were on the USS Intrepid when Lex Luger slammed him.
Who's that? Lex Luger? That's not a person.
I mean, he appeared on Nitro and hurt you, but you can't erase him like he's Chris Benoit. Like he body slammed Yoko. Crush tried to do it that day, like a bunch of other guys did.
Yeah.
Like, come on, like
he could have
revisionist history this early.
He could have said the last person to body slam him was Ahmed Johnson, but to say that he's the only one, like, come on, man, you can avoid that.
It was 3 years ago too. Like, from this point, come on, 30 years ago this month now. Holy shnikes! Ooh, I need a Tylenol.
As old as me. But yeah, so we got. And I noted here that Yoko is really good in bursts because he has some offense here. He drops the elbow on Vader's leg, obviously as revenge. He brought it up how Vader broke Yoko's leg on Raw. They had to forklift him out. So Yoko's trying to get revenge here, drops some weight on his legs. Yoko throwing out a Uranagi, a Samoan drop, then he's gassed. But those moves he did, they looked impressive. For how big he is, he has no business like being able to walk, much less do wrestling moves. So all the credit to him. But ultimately, Yoko goes for the bonsai onto Vader. But Cornette is on the apron, tries to hit Yoko with the racket. But Yoko like catches the racket, doesn't even look at him, he just kind of catches it. He brings in Cornette, rips him into the ring. Cornette has the best like cartoon manager reactions. Like, oh no. He puts the racket down, he tries to shake his hand. Yoko grabs his hand, squeezes it, tries to break his hand, hits him with a headbutt, and then goes to do the bonsai drop onto Cornette. But Vader rips Cornette from under him, so Yoko misses. And then Vader, I guess Yoko's leg lands on the bottom rope, so Vader replicates the way he broke his leg before by splashing on Yokozuna's leg, and then hits the Vader bomb from the second rope for the win. So Vader gets the win. And like I said, this is as much as you could really expect from these guys, and it got Vader the win. So I think all's well that ends well, I guess.
It is what it is. Like Corny's they're kind of trying to give Corny his receipts here, but no, we're building up Vader. I mean, he's going to be in the main event very, very soon, not for very long. Spoiler alert! But it's just another odd for Vader to overcome, and being the short, pudgy kid who is always referred to or compared to Yokozuna. Yeah, this match sticks out like a sore thumb for me. Just Cornette's overacting. It is phenomenal.
I'm a big fan. Big fan. He says things that I don't agree with, but man, Cornette in the ring is just a gem in every single way. So, but speaking of gems, guys, quickly, did you have any notes on this King of the Ring commercial that popped on after this?
I just put in here that there was a tournament match between Warrior and Goldust, and Vader got a bye. Now, I looked at the entire bracket here, and then I'm just thought, the state of the WWE in 1996.
Yeah.
Looking at, there's like a few of those names I could see, like, oh, okay, Triple H, that's a winner. Owen Hart, former King of the Ring winner, should have won 1995. You got another one, like, oh, this is a pretty good. Oh my gosh, who else is in here? Ugh.
when Jake Roberts is in the finals, you kind of know where you're at in 1996. But they also played like a commercial with Jerry Lawler, who is always the king, obviously. Yeah, Jerry Lawler, he's in heaven, and then Elvis is there. Oh, it's a stupid commercial. But that brings us to, I guess, the main event, the Intercontinental Championship, a casket match for the Intercontinental Championship. We got the Goldust champion defending against the Undertaker. So the golden casket is out there. It's kind of a weird matchup because Taker's in a feud with Mankind and Goldust is making out with Ahmed Johnson. So they both got their like individual things going on, but they had a few interactions on Raw, I guess, where Goldust did this. Him and Mankind beat down Undertaker, and then Goldust did this weird like cowgirl dry humping on him. This was thought of doing that to Mark Calloway is hilarious, but Goldust is all in with this character. But that being said, this match, I feel like this felt like a Dustin Rhodes match, not a Goldust match. I felt like the shenanigans from Goldust were pretty limited here, and it felt like just a good old fashioned wrestling match. What do you think about it?
They did this match in the dark when the power was out, and it had like the Rumble 94 finish with all the heels coming out to stuff Taker in the casket. So we had a different one coming out for this. I mean, yeah, I'm with you. This was very Dustin Rhodes. This was very like old school, like a very WCW, like a old territory match. Great stuff. Undertaker appearing behind Goldust with his mind games. I mean, mind games is in a couple of months, so let's get them out here early. A leg drop in an old school, and Goldust hits the most gentle version of the tombstone I've ever seen.
Doesn't want to hurt the golden goose, I guess.
Well, he doesn't want to blow out both of his knees. Taker gets one, and we got the finish here with Mankind is popping out of the casket, mandible claw, calling Goldust mommy before Dominic would.
You can't have a casket match without some third party popping out of the casket. That's for sure. But yeah, the old schools, the Goldust tombstone, Goldust wrapping a sleeper on Undertaker to knock him out, to roll him in the casket. Solid stuff here. The casket match gimmick, they're working as they're making the most of it. Goldust rolls Taker in the casket, and then Taker puts his stupid purple glove out there to block it, and then Goldust puts his whole body weight on top of the casket to try to close it, but then Taker explodes out of it, shoving Goldust into the first row. Some good stuff here. Goldust, you forget how big Goldust is until he starts power slamming the shit out of Undertaker this entire match. But good stuff leading up to the finish, like you said, Mankind. So the casket door is closed. Undertaker hits the tombstone on the Goldust, goes to roll him in the casket, pops out Mankind, mandible claw, the paralyzing hold, as Vince McMahon says, puts Undertaker in the casket. Taker's out. They close. By the way, the casket door is broken. I don't know. It's not attached to the casket, but they close it. So Goldust ends up winning, which by the way, the thought of Undertaker being Intercontinental Champion is just hilarious to me. I don't know why, but does not get it here. Goldust retains, and then so you have Undertaker in the casket. Mankind's on top of it. Mankind takes some sort of tool out and locks the casket, and it starts smoking. Smoke comes from the casket, and then the lights go out, I believe, or it's just the regular light. Paul Bearer ends up getting the casket door open, and there's no Undertaker. Where did he go? He's gone. Just peak Undertaker stuff. The supernatural. It's silly, but all of this is silly. But I think it really works for the time. I was fairly entertained by it. But yeah, Mankind coming out strong, man. He debuted at the Raw after WrestleMania. Immediately attacks the Undertaker, lays him out. Does it a few times on the Raws leading up to this, and now leaves him laying at the end of a pay-per-view. So big stuff for Mankind coming up. But yeah, any other thoughts on that?
That was a very entertaining casket match. When we have a no DQ casket match with a heel, you know there's going to be shenanigans.
Always. But yeah, that brings Beware of Dog 2 to a close. So we've covered both parts here. If you had to grade it, just all part 1 and 2 together in your house 8. If you had to grade it from a scale of S to F, what do you think you'd give it?
I'd give it maybe about a B minus. I was entertained.
Yeah, I think it was solid. I mean, B minus, maybe C plus. It was by far not the worst I've seen, but I mean, in this era is one of the better shows probably that I've watched. You know, it had its low moments, but it was solid, I think is the word. You know, they had their gimmicks, but they gimmicked them as good as they could gimmick. But speaking of dogs, speaking of Beware, speaking of storms, I'm trying to figure out how to link this to the Fretzlemania podcast. Where can everybody find the Fretzlemania podcast and listen to your beautiful voice and tickle your nipples?
Well, you can do all of those things by following me on Twitter and Instagram at Fretzlemania, Fretzle Mania. Every week-ish, I mean, it's summer, tourist season, I live on a beach, so if I don't have time one week, I don't have a podcast. I've been mostly right now focusing on the Ruthless Aggression podcast. Shout out to the RA Era podcast boys, doing mostly SmackDowns at this point in time. I just recorded yesterday one that took place in Toronto, and it had a battle rap with Kurt Angle and John Cena. I'm going to do Vengeance after that and lead into SummerSlam with Nate the Effing Great. So
hell yeah!
Every week on Wrestle Addict Radio, follow Addict_Wrestle on Twitter. We got Kings of the Rings. We got Nate the Effing Great's Brace for Impact, and we got the Young Lions perspective. So we got something just about 3-4 days a week with each of our guys. People.
Yeah. Lots of Nathan Jones you're covering, right?
I did a little bit of Nathan Jones. I'm going to be getting back into him when it comes for a Survivor Series, so I'm looking forward to that.
You don't get into him. He gets into you.
Oh, yeah.
Once again, thank you to Fretz from the Fretzlemania podcast for joining me on In Your House 8. A lovely, lovely segmented show. Go check out Fretz wherever you listen to podcasts. Check me out too on all the social medias. You know the deal. Hey, you know what we're here for. You know what we got to do. Bartholomew, hit that tasty jingle, you piece of shit. WCW, ECW, WWF. Who's the hardest promotion? Eric or Vince or Paulie? I think we can agree, though, it's mostly shit. Alrighty then. Hardest promotion of 1996 battle continues. So we will walk you through it if you've never listened to this before or watched it. By the way, on YouTube, I have a video version of the podcast if you're not aware, but you'll be able to see what I'm doing here. I got my old spreadsheet up here as we walk through it. So feel free to check that out. Maybe give the video a like ski while you're there. But if you're listening in audio land, I will walk you through it, of course. So hardest promotion of 1996. We got WWF versus WCW versus ECW. We take into account in-ring. We take into account out-of-ring, the roster, the pay-per-view quality, all of that. We'll go through it here. But as of right now, the overall scores, WWF has 13 points. WCW has 1 point. ECW has 8 points. How do we get those points? Hardest part of the ring? Well, I'll tell you here in a second. Why don't you just calm down? Why don't you cool your tits there, sir or madam? The first thing we're going to do before we do anything is we're going to grade this show from a scale of S to F. S being the best, F being the worst. So I got part 2 and part 1 here separately. Let me. In Your House 8, Beware of Dog. What are we thinking, gang? What are we thinking? It's not the best, not the worst, though. So logic would say probably deserves a C. But let's see what else we've given a C. We gave Slamboree a C. I might have been too generous on Slamboree, I'm going to be honest. But we gave In Your House 7 a B. Now, was this as good as In Your House 7? In Your House 7 gave us the best match of the year so far, as of what right now. Shawn versus Diesel. I forget what else was on that show, but there was some other good stuff on there. Matter of Respect got a B. So In Your House 8. So we got a really good strap match between Steve Austin and Savio Vega. I thought the WWF title match was fine. The casket match was fine. Nothing really like bad on this show. Let me take a look at my notes, make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Mark Marrow versus Hunter Hearst Helmsley was kind of underwhelming. Vader Yokozuna was fine. Do I throw a B at this is the question. Because, you know, you got to take into account kind of like entertainment per minute. I like how these in your house shows are short. Like it was sub 2 hours. And it felt like every second kind of mattered. Even though the opener kind of dragged a little bit, I thought like there was like Yoko and Vader was better than it had any right in being. I thought the casket match between Goldust and Taker was a fun brawl. I might throw a B at this bad boy. I'll tell you what, there was nothing as good as Shawn and Diesel from In Your House 7, but I think this one was more consistent because you gotta remember In Your House 7 also had the worst match. So I'm gonna throw a B at this one. We're gonna throw a B at In Your House 8. And what does that mean? So we look at WWF, WCW, ECW, and we look at who has the highest average grade, which right now WWF still has the highest average grade with like a B-ish. So we're going to, yeah. So go back to the overall scoreboard here. Best overall average grade, WWF. So that's still WWF. So they get 6 points for that. Best pay-per-view, we're still tracking it as WrestleMania 12. So that gives WWF 2 points. Worst pay-per-view, WCW Super Brawl, which would obviously still be the same because this is not the worst. In Your House 8. So Super Brawl is still the worst. So WCW gets -1 point for that. In-ring. So we're tracking ECW as the best. Just overall in-ring. I don't know if anything on this show would sway that. Again, it was pretty solid. I wouldn't say it was really like the in-ring quality that kind of, well, it was and it wasn't, but I don't know if anything is better than like, because ECW, you got Rob Van Dam and Sabu killing it. Shane Douglas and Scorpio for the TV title. You got Sandman and Raven up top for the heavyweight title. Like ECW's got a lot of really awesome revolutionary stuff going. So ECW maintains that, I think, for now. So they get 4 points for that. ECW does. Best match, we're tracking Shawn versus Diesel at In Your House 7. Don't think anything on this show overtook that. I mean, I would think my personal match of this In Your House 8 was Steve Austin versus Savio Vega, but I wouldn't put that above Shawn versus Diesel. So, but still WWF has that at In Your House 7. So WWF gets 2 points. Worst match also at In Your House 7, Ultimate Warrior versus Goldust. Nothing on this show was worse than that. We're gonna have a tough time beating that as the worst match of the year, but we'll see what happens. So WWF gets -1 point for that. Roster, star power. So who has the best overall roster? So right now we're tracking WCW. Because up top, they got the Hogans, the Macho Mans, the Flairs, while also having the talent of the Cruiserweights, your Dean Malenkos, your Eddie Guerreros, Benoit. Again, I don't think anything really would sway that. Since the last show, I mean, we've got Mark Marrow now on pay-per-views. I think that's really the only change since last time I looked at this, and I don't think that would sway anything really. So WCW maintains that. 4 points. Also, by the way, WWF has, I guess at this point, they've officially lost Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. So that's just another mark for WCW as we approach the Outsiders debuting. So WCW gets 4 points for the best overall roster. Wrestler of the year. We're tracking Shawn Michaels. So on this show, he had a pretty okay match with Bulldog, but dragging a okay match with Bulldog is something to be commended. So we'll keep Shawn Michaels there. I wouldn't say anything really. I mean, as far as like people in contention, I don't think it. Maybe like Sting from WCW. Maybe a Shane Douglas from ECW. Maybe a Sabu from ECW. I don't think anybody's really really content with Shawn Michaels yet. But lots of year to play out. But we're going to keep it as Shawn Michaels for now. And WWF gets 2 points for that. Worst wrestler of the year. We're tracking Kevin Sullivan from WCW. Yeah, I mean, from this show, you could say Yokozuna if you wanted, but like I feel like he serves his part very well. No, I wouldn't put Yoko as the worst, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Not even close. Kevin Sullivan is still by far the worst. Somehow less mobile than Yokozuna is Kevin Sullivan. So yeah, WCW gets -1 point for that. Out of ring. So this is your gimmicks, your characters, your promos, your storylines. Best overall in that aspect. Just all of it all together. We're tracking ECW. So in your house 8, we got Savio and Austin is kind of a dumb story. Bulldog and Sean. They're trying stuff, but I don't think it really hits. Goldust is kind of Goldust, Mankind, Undertaker. It's kind of got like a menage a trois going there a little bit, but I don't think that really overtakes because ECW, you got Rob Van Dam and Sabu having an awesome rivalry. You got Shane Douglas and Scorpio fighting for the TV title. They got some good stuff going there where they're like taking turns getting the one up on each other. There's some good stuff going on in ECW. Not to mention the tag team titles. Raven and Sandman is really starting to get off the ground. So ECW, I think, still has the best out of ring overall. Best characters, best. Even the promos, I think, in ECW are the best. So ECW maintains that. So they get 4 points for that. Best character storyline. We're tracking Goldust as the best. Question is has he gone downhill since WrestleMania? Because he was hot, like when he first came on the scene. His thing with Roddy Piper was awesome. The Undertaker feud just kind of came out of nowhere. Although, I mean, I guess it's been good for what it is, and his interactions with Mankind, I guess, kind of enhance his character a little bit. We'll keep Goldust there. I think you could argue Mankind, but I think we're still a little early in Mankind for him to be considered the best. We'll keep Goldust. It's going to be WWF, I feel like, either way. ECW, I think, might overtake this one with some of the stuff they got going on. And obviously, we got the NWO about the kickoff, so this is kind of a moot point for right now, but we'll keep it as WWF for now. So they get 2 points. Worst character storyline. Dungeon of Doom. Man, I'm genuinely tempted to put the Shawn and Bulldog feud on here because that was just so stupid. I don't know if it's worse than the Dungeon of Doom though. I don't know if I can say that that's worse. So yeah, we'll keep DOD there. WCW gets -1 point for that. So with that, I think we're in neutral here. No changes, I don't believe. So we still got WWF in the lead with 13, ECW in second with 8 points, and then WCW holding the rear with 1 point. So, and by the way, in case you're curious, in case you haven't been a part of this before, whoever wins this at the end of the year of 1996, Daddy will purchase a title belt of the company that wins. So we will see lots of year to go, lots of stuff happening in 1996. So this could change. But right now, the new generation is in the lead. So, but with that, I think that's about all Daddy has for you today. Hey, we made it without a thunderstorm. We made it without any dogs attacking my genitals. So I think it was a win, huh? Hopefully none of that happened to you as you were listening, but it would kind of be funny if it did. So with that, I bid you adieu. Thank you for listening. I love you all. I do appreciate all of you. I appreciate all the support, all the listens, all the watches, all the tickles. All of it. I appreciate it all. Love you all. Have a good day or night or morning. I'm hard.
Yeah.
It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing I guess. Let's get it started. It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing I guess.